Today, I want to talk about the objection that we probably hear more. I won't say it's more than any. The I need to think about it's probably number one, but it's probably a close second. And that is, I get all my business by word of mouth. Now, a lot of times when you're meeting with smaller businesses, you get this. And when I first started, I thought that this translated into I'm too cheap to buy advertising. And I really felt like that's what it meant. So when I heard somebody say that, I knew that basically at that point, I'm like, oh my gosh, well, they're not going to do it no matter what. Well, over the years, what I've learned is that is not what it means. What it means in most cases is I know I need to advertise, but I don't understand it. There are so many options. I'm afraid to make the wrong choice, so I just simply choose not to do anything. You know, we as human beings are terrified of making the wrong choice. We will avoid putting ourselves in a position to make the right choice in order to prevent making the wrong choice. And so one of the things, once you understand that's where they're coming from, because business owners, you know, you have to realize they're making the best decision based on the information or the lack of information that they have. They don't intentionally do stupid things with their business. I mean, sometimes we do that. Sometimes we'll hear people and we'll think, oh my gosh, he's just willfully being stupid. No, they're actually doing the best they can do with the understanding they have of advertising and marketing. So they're terrified of making the wrong choice, so they simply choose not to make any choice. So what we need to do is help them understand that advertising is not an option. That advertising is really a necessity to keep your business alive. And probably this is the one objection we get, that it becomes our responsibility almost immediately to help provide them with a little guidance, even if they don't buy in our magazine. You know, one of the things I say all the time is, you know, you shouldn't judge the success of a presentation based on whether you sell an ad. You should judge it based on whether or not you were able to help that business. And this is one of those scenarios where they need help. Now, why do I say that? Well, the reason, quite frankly, is most businesses who don't advertise don't live. They don't survive. And if you look, every year, about 22% of the businesses, small businesses in the country, fail. And almost all of them that fail have chosen not to advertise. And that's a hard reality that we need to share with these business owners. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to make the sale, but it does mean you're going to open a conversation that could down the road help with their business. And so what I like to point out when someone says that, and here's my response. Hey, first thing you have to do with any objection, you want to validate their opinion. And then you want to kind of provide them with additional information. And so what I do in that situation, I'll just simply say, hey, I can understand why you would have that approach, because there's so many choices out there. It's often hard to find the right one, and a lot of people are just afraid of picking the wrong one. But let me tell you, whether you advertise with me or not, you need to find some way to get your message out there. Because when you're getting your business from word of mouth, what you're doing is you're putting the entire future of your business and your family's financial security in the hands of total strangers. Because in today's world, where one negative review could wipe out all the goodwill you've gotten, that if your strategy for your message is hope that enough people recommend you for you to survive, that's putting too much faith in the hands of others. What I'm offering you today is the opportunity for you to control your message instead of leaving it up to other people. because that's really what they're doing. I mean, we're offering them a chance to control their message in the community rather than let other people do that. And sometimes I'll even go as far to say, it would scare me to death if I knew the entire future of my business and my family's well-being was in the hands of total strangers. And if you're relying on word of mouth, that's what you're doing with your business. Now, that's a hard conversation to have. And it has to start with caring about that customer. They need to hear that. I mean, I guarantee you, if you think really hard, you can come up with a business you've met with that gave you the word of mouth objection within the last month that's no longer in business. And that's a harsh reality that we have to help the business owners understand. Says, hey, I understand why this is intimidating or a little scary, because you're spending money on something you don't fully understand. But whether you advertise with me or not, you need to do something, because you've got to control your message. This is also another good time to bring up the small business associations. 5 to 8% of your gross revenue should be spent on marketing, because those recommendations are made by the Small Business Association because they know how important it is for the survival of businesses. And like I said, these aren't easy conversations to have, but they're conversations the business owner needs to hear. And so that lets you transition into some discussions about the community awareness ad, about making sure that everybody knows. And I will tell you one other thing about word of mouth. And this one's a little bit more, harder to explain to somebody. But what do we say all the time? Branding is about giving people a reason to pick you over your competitors. And how many times have you personally asked a friend for a referral and they recommended a business you hadn't heard of, and instead of just blindly calling that business, you thought, they can't be that good, I haven't heard of them, and then you ask another friend for a second referral? It happens all the time, because we have this natural assumption in our minds that if I haven't heard of this business, they can't be very good. And so even if you're going to rely on referrals and references for your growth, you still have to give people a reason to pick you over your competitors, because I'm not going to take a referral at first glance if I'm not familiar with your business. And so having these conversations can be essential, not just for your business, but for their business. Because if they don't, at least now, it may not result in a sale. It often won't. But you had no shot at making the sale anyway once they threw that on the table, because they weren't going to buy. So what you're really doing in this situation is you're opening the door for future conversations. Because the one thing I can assure you of, when you have that conversation with somebody, it's going to weigh on their mind, and they're going to think about it when they're making future decisions.